Hey everyone, it's Dev from the Maniology team with another weekly live every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. You can find us here on another nail stamping journey. Whether it's a tutorial, technique, or hack, we're here to discuss the details and we're so happy you could join. So hey everyone, thank you so much for joining our live. If you saw, we are going to be covering this spring French floral manicure. This has been really trendy and we've been seeing it all over social media. If you aren't familiar, I think it's kind of like a 90s throwback because the flowers that you're seeing for these like spring floral French, they're just like the simple kind of 90s flower. I don't know what it's called. I just always associate this very specific flower with the 90s. So I don't know if you guys are also familiar with that. Also shows a little bit of my age. I am definitely in my 30s, so 90s was my time. Anyways, thank you so much for joining us again. We love having you here. Today for our live, we're going to be using all of these colors, which I will go over very shortly. And did you guess what plate we're using today? It is M052. And on top of that, we are going to be using the brightening base coat. So you don't have to use the brightening base coat if you don't want to. This is something I decided to do because the tips that I'm using are clear. So I wanted it to kind of have that like natural nail look. So again, it's completely up to you. You don't have to do this. I just chose to do this. And then the other thing that we're going to be using today. Could you guess what the second item was going to be? The very, very popular second item? If you don't know, it is our dotting tool set. This is actually one of our #1 sellers. It's an 8-piece dual-ended brush and dotting tool set, and it has dotting tools of different sizes on the other end. So I'm going to show you guys how to use that today. And yeah, let's just get right into it. Thank you everyone who's joining us. Hello, hello, welcome. You're gonna notice that I'm wearing a black glove on one of my hands because right before this live, I broke a nail and it was like all the way down here. It was so painful. Luckily, I'm not bleeding, but it was really, really low. I just ended up cutting it off because I didn't even want to bother having to worry about it. It was so painful. A lot of people think that, like, you know, there's that joke of like, oh, did you break a nail? But if you've ever broken a nail, it is so painful. Especially if it's like if it's a deep break, like down here, it hurts so bad. It's a really, really unpleasant feeling. I absolutely hate that kind of feeling. Thanks, Aisha. Anyways, let's get right into it. I'm gonna just move you guys. Oh yes, the pain of a break. Everyone knows it. So I already applied my base coat right here because I don't want you guys to have to wait. So again, this is just the brightening base. And then the colors we're going to be using for this live is Sour Apple B378, Hatha B398, Mercury Baseline B175, Frosty B306, Monarch Dream B178, and Pencils Down B286. So lots of colors today. And of course, we're going to be using the very, very popular, this is literally the #1 seller, is M052. So if you don't have this plate, you should really jump on it because there are so many cool designs you can create. Even like designs that are not specifically French. There are lots of things you can do with this plate. So I'm just gonna kind of go down the line and do it the same way that I did here. So we're gonna first, let me just put this over here. We're gonna start and do Frosty first. So let me arrange this in a way so that way you guys can see everything and I'm in camera. So based off of my tip size, I think I'm gonna try and go for this shape right here. And today I'm going to be using my scraper card and my favorite stamper. So this is one of my favorites, especially for this design. Also, I don't want to get polish all over my workspace. So remember that trick I told you guys before about how to get rid of these old papers? I'm just gonna go ahead and stick it under my plate since I'm no longer gonna use it for anything else. We're gonna go ahead and apply a generous amount of polish. Oh, oh no! Did you guys see what happened? My stamper fell out. It's really sticky right now, so that is gonna take, ooh, it's so sticky. Let's switch out my stamper head actually. It's a little bit stickier than I wanted. I'm gonna have to try Tiana's trick on how to make your stamper less sticky. Oh. Okay. So the stamper head I'm gonna use instead is a very loved old stamper head, but what I like about it is that I've kind of got all the oils out of it. So it's a bit firmer, and personally I enjoy that. Even if it has a little tear in it, which this one does, like, I don't know, I don't seem to have any problems with it, but maybe that's just me. So I'm gonna go back and redo this since you guys watched me fail miserably the first time. Voila. Success. Okay, so just gonna go ahead and just like that. Perfect. Okay, now we're gonna have to repeat that process like 4 more times. So as you can see, it was very easy for me to just stamp that French on. It was not difficult at all. And it took me all of what, like 2 seconds? The next color we're gonna do is purple, or this, I don't know, you guys can call it purple pink, I'm not exactly sure. It's kind of an in-between color. For those of you who are wondering about the stamper head and why my stamper head is so sticky, stamper heads are naturally very sticky, and sometimes that works out in your favor, depending what kind of design you're doing. Personally, I didn't want that for what I'm doing today, but if I'm working with fine line designs, I absolutely love that kind of tackiness. It helps to make sure you get everything. So let's do this one. Perfect. So look, we're already on to the second nail. And if I didn't have a camera in my face, this would have probably taken me 2 minutes tops to like do all of the French. but it's because I have my camera in my face and I'm trying to make sure that I'm in camera so you guys can see everything that's going on. So it takes me like a few extra moments to stamp. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and do green. We're already almost halfway done with the design, or well, the French part of the design. So the cool thing is also, I don't need to worry about taking away all that stuff on the side. You see the green polish that's on the side of the French design? I don't really need to worry about any of that because that's not the area that's gonna touch the nail tip. So here's what happens. It takes me a second to like line this up. Oh, see, I moved a little too slow. When that happens, this is what you get, and I'll show you how you can fix that. So go ahead and just clean your stamper and scraper and your plate one more time. Then we're just gonna go ahead and do this. So I'm only cleaning away the polish that is going to get on the nail tip if I left it. So we're just double stamping. Perfect. And if you get a little gap there, don't worry about it. You can always fill it in with a brush. You could just cover it up with the flour. Happy little mistakes are okay. It's not going to negatively affect the design. And then let's go ahead and do our orange. So Hatha B398. Sorry if I'm missing any of your questions while we are doing the demonstration. I promise I will take a look later and there'll be someone to help answer. Today I have Tiana helping me out. Okay, so when it comes to lining up this design, the way that I found it to be most effective is to make sure that the tip of the French, so let me point this out, this tip is lined up with this tip here. That's how I know how far down to go. It's up to you whether you want the French line to be smaller or thinner. Personally, I really want it to be like a thicker French. I want to see a lot of that color. So that's just my choice. But again, you can do it however you want to. It doesn't have to be the same as what I'm doing. It can be thinner if you want. It could be a lot thicker if you want. You could even do it so that way it's a rainbow style French. I was thinking about doing that, but I was like, do you guys want to be here for the next, I don't know, 10 hours? I figured you probably didn't, so we'll have to save that one for another day. Whoops, forgot to clean my stamper. Okay, so. And I am just lightly scraping this across the stamper. It's not like a very strong, hard kind of drag, so it's not damaging the stamper head at all. Oh, I moved a little too slow, so let's see if we can put that back. If not, oh yeah, hey, it worked. Don't you just love that? It was still sticky enough so I was able to just kind of transfer it on there. Oh yeah. I think that looks pretty good. So let's take a look at our pastel French that we created. Voila! Isn't that cute? Now we can move this out of the way, and it's time for us to focus on our dotting tool technique. So you are going to need a lotus mat, and if you have a cotton soaked acetone, that helps as well. So I'm just going to put mine on the side over here. You can do this on your lotus mat. I prefer not to because I don't like getting it messy. And you're going to need BAM white and also pencils down yellow. Tiana wants to wear pastels. Well, look at that. That's exciting. So we're going to be using BAM white today. Okay, so let's take a look at our little dotting tools. I'm just going to pull them all out, and it comes with this super awesome case in case this super awesome case because you never know when you're gonna need to store your brushes away or do whatever with them. So first we are gonna take a look at all the tips so that way you guys can see the differences. So these are the different tips. We are going to be using the larger tips, I want to say. So this is the largest, and these are next after that, I want to say. Yeah. Right here, let me just organize them in a way so you can see the different sizes. Because I realize it's probably hard for you all to know, like, okay, what's the smallest to biggest size? There, trying to find these for you all. Okay. Also, these brushes, the handles are not acetone resistant. So if you get polish on these handles, you are not going to be happy with what happens. So make sure that when you are using these to make sure that no acetone touches the handles. So let me show you. Now you guys can see the different sizes of the dotting tools. Oh, oops, that's not supposed to be there. There you go. You can see all the different sizes. So we're actually going to be using, I want to say this size and this size. And then I can even show you the different ends that are on the brush. So these are all the different ends that you have on the brush. This is like a striping brush. Perfect. This brush is perfect for like reverse coloring. Actually, several of these brushes are great for reverse coloring depending how big the design is. Some of these brushes are great for cleanup if you ever have any problems with that. Or if you have like flooding for nail polish, these are wonderful. You can even do like a dry brush stroke look with this type of brush. I think this one you can make like flower petals. So there's all kinds of different things you can do with these. They're pretty awesome, and again, they're our #1 sellers. So if you aren't familiar with them, you should definitely check those out. Okay, so now let's talk about dotting tools and how to get started. Whoops. There we go. So you're gonna grab white polish and you're just gonna create a huge glob of polish right here. Then you're gonna take the smaller dotting tool Just gonna clean mine off on my acetone soaked cotton pad. So again, we're using the big one and the smaller one. So we're gonna use the smaller one, and we're gonna just go ahead and dab it in the polish. So because I don't wanna have too much polish, I'm gonna just dab off the excess right there. Now you're gonna go here and you're gonna apply, here, let's see, right there, 1 dot. This is going to be the center for your flower. As you saw inside my example tips, I have the yellow center, but I notice it looks best when you have a white center and then you do the flowers and then you do the yellow center. So now I'm just gonna go back in with that dotting tool, dab off the excess polish, and then you're gonna dab 5 little petals. So I noticed that like going like that a couple of times helps, so that way I have a perfectly even circle. Ooh, whoops, sorry, didn't mean to knock you all with the brush. How do you get the nails to stick on the holder? So I'm using Uhu Tacky, which is something that you can purchase from like a, I feel like, you know, your local craft store, or even places like Walmart or those kinds of things. Any place that they sell some sort of like office supplies, you can purchase it there. So if your flowers aren't perfect, it's okay. We can always go back. The only thing is, when you're doing this technique, you need to make sure that your base is completely dry. If you do this technique with a wet base, every single time you dab the dotting tool onto your base, it creates like a bumpy, textured look, and that's not what we want. So we already did 1 flower, excuse me. And as you can see, my petal over here is just kind of a little wonky. So I'm just gonna go back and fix it like that, because once we put top coat on, we're not gonna see. So that flower looks pretty perfect. We're just gonna leave it alone, and now we're gonna go ahead and do another flower in this corner here. So this is the center of my flower. Then let's go ahead and do the petals. I don't recommend doing a small circular motion. I tried doing the small circular motion like this with the dotting tool. It made it worse. And the reason it made it worse is because when you're doing that, if you're putting any sort of pressure, you're digging into the base polish and re-wetting that polish layer underneath. Again, that's not the look you want. You don't want it to have like these weird little like dings in it. So there we go. And that is the very first flower. For this one, I think I want to do my flower on the right side. So the way that I kind of did the floral arrangement, and you can see it here. Let me show you guys. So the way that I did the floral arrangement, it's like V-shaped. So I have flowers going this way, and then I have a flower going in the opposite direction. And then for the middle one, since it's 5 and it's an uneven number, I made this middle flower or middle nail have 3 different flowers, and then I just kind of mimicked. So you see how I like made them all go in different directions, so that way it's not the same consistent thing on every single nail. I think it helps to add more interest. Also, now that I've been talking for so long, I'm gonna need to clean off my dotting tool, because you don't want your dotting tool to get any tacky polish on it. If it has tacky polish on it, it's gonna make it more difficult for you to get those perfect circles when you're doing this technique. Also, don't be shy with using polish. If your polish slightly gets dry or tacky, don't bother with it. Just start over and create a new spot. That's why I can already tell from looking at this and the reflection that that's not going to be ideal for me to work with. The reason we want to do that is because if the nail polish is too tacky, it leaves all this unwanted texture. It doesn't give you like the nice little dots that you want. It just makes it more difficult. So I'm gonna add my center dot there. And the center dot is also kind of just like a starting point, so you know like where to attach the flowers. I tried doing it without having a starting point, and I noticed that my flowers ended up being like not very symmetrical looking, and that can kind of be irritating if you are like me and you want like perfect symmetrical flowers. There we go. That is our second nail tip. Now let's do our third. So I'm gonna add a dot here because I want to cover up that little funky space, and then I'm gonna add a dot here, and let's add a dot here. Also, you don't have to have the full flower. So for example, this one that I'm doing right now, it's not going to be the full flower, and I think that looks really cute. I like the idea of it having just like a partial flower sometimes. Yep, time for me to clean my dotting tool. It's getting kind of gross. Too much caked up polish again makes for unattractive dots. So again, I recommend more of a dotting motion than creating a circular motion. That technique only really works if the base is super duper dry, and even then you run the risk of causing a ding, like a ding or a dent in your base, because when you use wet polish over dry polish, you re-wet the polish underneath. There we go. And I'm gonna do these last ones. Again, I think when I did this manicure, it was really, really fast because I'm not in front of a camera. But I think when you guys actually do this on your nails or your friends or wherever you want to do it, I think it'll be a lot faster for you as well. Okay, let's see. I have to do this side. Oh wait, this side. Oh yeah, you can use a toothpick and a bobby pin if you want to. You don't have to use the dotting tools. The toothpick can be a little bit difficult. If you do use a toothpick, you might have to like file it down and make sure it's a flat surface, because the pointed edge sometimes can be a little bit difficult and it can cause like a dig into the polish, or just some kind of weird little bumps that maybe you weren't looking for. But the bobby pin, definitely, because it's capped edge, so it's nice and smooth. So if you don't have the dotting tools and maybe you can't pick them up right now, but you still really want to create this manicure, that is also another great option. There we go. Oh, well, I kind of don't like how this one turned out. There, that's a little better. So that's done. Now we can put this on the side, clean off your dotting tool. I'm just gonna clean this off with acetone because, again, as long as I don't get it on the handle, it's completely safe. Now I'm gonna use my bigger dotting tool to draw the yellow circle dot, the center of the flower. So today I'm using pencils down. You can just go ahead and apply a very generous amount onto the paper. Make sure to always cap your polishes so you don't end up with a polish spill, because I've done it so many times and it sucks. Although I am a professional at cleaning polish out of like any kind of material, like any type of flooring material, you'd be surprised. I'm good at getting polish out of things. So we're gonna go ahead and just dot right in the very center of that flower. Just like that. So this is gonna be like a bigger dot. I just really think it looks cute with like the big flower yellow center. I tried it with smaller centers and I ended up liking how it looked with the bigger center. Okay, this flower, these set of flowers on the green nail seem like they're still a little bit wet, so I'm gonna give it some time. Just go over to the orange nail. So after this is done, I'm not going to top coat it for you in this live. And the reason for that is because it's going to take a while for this polish to dry. And let me show you why. You see when you turn it to the side and you can see that the polish is raised right there? Like the yellow polish, you can see the fact that it's kind of raised. It's because it's still very, very wet. And so even if I tried to apply a smudge-free top coat over this, it doesn't matter whether it's a smudge-free top coat or not, because the polish itself is wet, and having a brush of any sort, no matter what formula is on it, is going to cause smearing, just because you're having something that's literally touching wet paint and then dragging it down, which is not what we want. And you can float it, but like, why chance it? That's the thing. So for me, I am not someone who likes chancing things. I'm definitely not the type to go to Vegas and gamble all my money. That, like, I'm very what do they call it? Like risk averted, risk aversion. I'm not exactly sure, but like I am not the kind of person who likes taking risks. So I would just prefer to wait. But again, if you want to try and float it, go right ahead, be my guest, but I don't recommend it. You have to be really, really comfortable with that. And personally, I'm just not. Plus, on top of that, like if you float it and the coat is super thick, you end up getting like all these bubbles later because the coat was super, super thick. And while it was drying, like bubbles appear. It's just risk averse. Thank you, Annika, for giving me the proper terminology for it. So anyways, this was the manicure that we created today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you had fun and learned some really cool stuff. If you guys try this technique, please make sure you @mention us, hashtag us. We love seeing your creations. It really does give us quite a bit of joy. If I missed any questions, I will go back later and check the comments, but while I'm wrapping up, if you still want to input your final like few questions, go right ahead and I'll try and get to them now before we close this live out. Again, you can use a cotton pad covered in acetone. If not, it'll be okay. You'll just have to like wipe it off every single time you use it or every couple of times you use it. I just put mine on the side. And then also usually what happens is by now, which you guys can even see here, it's completely dry. Thank you so much for joining us, Aisha. I'm so happy you enjoyed the manicure tutorial. I was really wondering if you guys are gonna like this, but it seems like we had a lot of interest of people who enjoyed it. So again, thank you so much, and I hope you guys have an amazing week. Talk to you later. Bye.